Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of In the Box, episode 21. How are we doing, Matt?
Oh, we're getting through it. 0-2 Cubbies. Baseball season's back.
Yeah, baseball is back. Hockey is in the final stretch. We got a shit ton to talk about, like Aiden Hill signing an extension, Ekblad getting a 20-game suspension, Ovechkin potentially retiring, Demidov potentially not coming over for the end of the season, as well as we're going to be picking our updated Cup finalists and Cup champions. And then we're going to rip a Jesper Bratt Would You Rather. Sound like a plan?
It does. It
All right,
does.
let's get into it. Aiden Hill, 6 years, $6.25 million extension with the Vegas Golden Knights. I'll let you go first on this one. Good, bad, horrible.
Bad.
Bad.
It's bad. Look, I get that this is just the going rate for mediocre goalies these days because there's a lot of mediocre goalies signing way too, not even the money, but the ridiculous terms for guys with zero track record. And look, if you want to tell me this is what the market is, Vizmelka got 5 by 4 3/4. Lankinen got 5 by 4.5. Blackwood got 5 by 5.25. I understand that Blackwood one is looking very good right now. But that's 3 goalies right there who have no business signing for anything more than 2 or 3 years based on what they've historically done. Aiden Hill is exactly the same way. I mean, talk about a replaceable guy. Aiden Hill literally was the replacement, guy, the replacement to other replaceable guys up until the minute Vegas won the Stanley Cup finally, and then everyone had to pretend he's actually been good the whole time. Aiden Hill, in the season they won the Cup. Regular season, he's the backup to Logan Thompson. Playoffs, he starts out as the backup to Laurent Brossoit.
Yeah,
Laurent Brossoit is not a good goalie in the first place, and Aiden Hill was seen as not better than him until he won that Cup. He's been fine for Vegas over the last couple years. We've seen a lot of replacement level goalies be fine for Vegas. That's not news. They're a really good team with a solid system in place. Probably a majority of goalies in the league could put up pretty decent numbers on Vegas, I would think. He's not a 1A/1B. He's purely a 1B. This is the first season in his career that Aiden Hill has started 40 games. If you cannot even play half the games in a season, you are not... You don't get to keep the 1A part of that question mark in you. You're purely a 1B at that point.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you brought facts to definitely back up your argument. I don't love it. I'm not gonna like go to war with you over this. I think it's fine. He'll be the 11th highest paid goalie next season. He's only 28 years old for some reason. I thought he was like 30 by now, but he kind of just got onto the scene later than some other guys. He has a 9-10 across the last 4 seasons in 158 games. I think it is maybe a slight overpayment. It's definitely a little bit too much term for a guy that has not fully proven it season after season. But I think that Vegas just didn't really have much of an option when you look at the unrestricted free agents this summer. You got Jake Allen, who maybe you could argue is better right now, but it's like 34 years old. Ville Husso, Alex Lyon, Freddie Anderson, who's just too injury prone, Anton Forsberg, and Dave Riddick. So it's like, I guess they maybe could have like moneyballed it and tried to bring in 2 of those guys. Maybe they have some guy within their system that they could have tried to, or like re-sign Samsonov, or maybe Samsonov is another year on his deal. But yeah, you know what you're getting out of Hill. You're getting top 13 to 20 goaltending in the NHL in 45 to 50 games. Again, it's not great, but it's kind of certainty based on what he's done the last few seasons. It's not a crazy track record, but yeah, it's fine. I don't know. Like you're very passionate on this deal.
I am passionate.
It's not a Logan Thompson kind of deal, and even Logan Thompson's has been struggling since he signed that deal. But yeah, just the going rate for starting goaltenders. And when you look at what's out there, I don't blame Vegas, who he fits right in with guys like Noah Hannafin, Jack Eichel, the same age as those guys. Just lock him up. At 6 years, I would have liked to get it below $6 million for that much term, but I'm not going to kill him. I thought with the way that the cap was jumping immediately that he might get, on the open market, he would have got like 7 by 7. Not saying that would have been someone else's massive overpay, but yeah, given the market, I think it's a fine deal.
I wouldn't even hate, honestly, a 7 mil open market contract if we're talking like 3 years, because that's how much trust you have in him. I want to point out you said you know what you're getting and then said 45 to 50 games. And I want to remind the viewers that's literally a lie. He has never played 45 games in his life.
Okay.
There is not one season of hockey where Aiden Hill's played 45 games. You said 910 save percentage over the last 4 seasons.
As
so
the
he's the
backup
11th
was
best
it?
paid goalie. How many goalies in the league do you think could put up a 910 in Vegas? Because I would bet you it's a lot more than 11. You could go a lot further down that chart and find someone who can put up an okay enough 910 in Vegas behind that squad right now.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm you're kind of persuading me on this kind of being a
I'm happy
bad deal.
to.
I'm
And
not
it's
gonna lie.
And you know what's crazy too is that historically, Vegas has always been the kind of team where when the salary cap gets tight, the first thing to go is the goalie. That's been how they've ran the team for a long time, and historically it's worked out pretty well for them. Like they won the Stanley Cup in a season that their platoon was Thompson, Aiden Hill, Brossois, all making under $2 million each after they had got rid of expensive goalies like Fleury and Robin Leonard managed to get himself rid of out of there. But the point is, this is a very cap conscious team, and they've had a lot of success in the past running like minimum wage goalies. So this is a very strange pivot, and I don't think it's going to work out for them.
I think it's possible that he's just like that he just consistently gives you a 906 over this deal, which is at this point above average league goaltending. Like I'm not saying he's going to be a 910 and 50 to 55 games every single season, but as long as he can just be above average in 45 to 50 games, even though he hasn't done that in prior seasons, I think that's fine. I think this $6 million is genuinely going to be like the going rate for just average goaltending.
It
Nothing
is.
special.
I think you're right even about that, but I do think it's like a league-wide issue at this point that you have all of these teams overpaying and especially again over-terming for these average goalies. It's nonstop at this point. Like I just don't understand. To me, it feels
The
like
Lankinen
every
one,
team is making the
yeah.
same mistake.
The Lankinen one, I agree is crazy. Like
Career
that's
backup has
yeah.
3 good months for them. Oh, let's give him a 5-year commitment. Like the money's not even that bad. If we're talking like a 2-year extension, thank you for helping us through the Demko injury earlier this year. But 5 years for what?
Yeah, that one I genuinely think like I gave it a B minus or a B. Shame on me. It's like a D plus.
It's a D.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty bad deal. Okay, next up we have Aaron Ekblad being suspended for 20 games, 18 regular season games, 2 playoff games. I gave some abbreviated thoughts on this on like my Instagram stories. It's concerning a decent amount for Florida because now they're in a real dogfight for the Atlantic Division. I think that they're all separated by like 1 point, as well as not having Matthew Tkachuk. Dmitry Kulikov went down in the New York Islanders game. So at this point, I think that they're kind of most likely going to finish 3rd in the Atlantic Division, going from like a week ago being 1st in the Atlantic. They've dropped 2 out of their last 3, and the 2 losses were to the Red Wings and the Flyers, like pretty bad losses. So it's definitely concerning for Florida. The first 2 games of the playoff games, again, on the road at some of those other teams, whether it's Toronto or Tampa Bay, it's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal for the Florida Panthers. What do you think?
I will say, I think this is more of a difference maker for Ekblad himself than it is for the Panthers. I don't think Ekblad's like an essential part of the Florida Panthers team at this point in his career, given the players on that team. But he is a free agent coming up this summer, and I do expect that this suspension is going to scare some teams away. I mean, you don't see PED suspensions very often in the NHL. The last one was Nate Schmidt, who ironically is his teammate now. Nate Schmidt fell off really hard for a few years there. He's playing reasonably pretty well this season, but let's not forget how genuinely bad he looked in Winnipeg for a couple years.
When he was making like $6 million.
Yeah, so it's I'm inclined to wonder now, right? Like, what exactly is Ekblad's skill level? Will we see a drop off if a substance isn't being used? He has his own story. I get it. It's hard not to draw that kind of correlation.
I tend to believe that it was just something that he was taking to rehab from an injury, because like you look at the J Fresh chart, you look at the points per game, and it has just been stagnant basically ever since then. So like, I still think that he's going to lose money just because it is a risk, because will you take a 100% at face value on top of the fact that he can't be trusted? If his decision making, if he like that's not a just like, oh, whoopsie, I made a mistake. Like, you gotta be pretty goddamn dumb to just take some like something over the counter from the pharmacy, don't check it with the team doctors. Like, you become a liability if you end up doing that. And as you mentioned, yeah, he just hasn't really been that good of a defenseman like the last 2 years, basically since he broke his leg in the middle of the 2022 regular season. So yeah, now that he doesn't get to maybe have a good down the stretch Atlantic Division race to help out the Florida Panthers, and he's going to be coming in cold in that game 3. Yeah, he thought you thought maybe before the season he'd be looking at some kind of 7-year deal at $8 million. Maybe somebody would pay him if he hit the open market. Now probably like 6 years, 6.75. I think people are like, this might be Brady Shea 2.0, and we're going to stay away from him. And if you're Florida, you have Seth Jones, who isn't killing it by any means right now, but at a cost controlled and term controlled $7 million for the next 5 seasons after this. So you might just say, Ekblad, thank you for your service. You're going to be in the rafters one day. But that was really dumb, especially if they end up losing in the first round to one of those teams in 5-6 games. You could definitely kind of put a lot of the blame on Aaron Ekblad. And yeah, good luck on your next team. You could be like Brandon Montour and go play irrelevant games in Seattle. Maximize the bag. We don't need you at this point.
I'm wondering, this is maybe like a conspiracy here, but do you think that Bill Zito at least like was aware that an investigation was happening and it might be an issue, and that would have provoked the Seth Jones
What was
trade?
like, it was like 10 days apart, I think, or something like
It was close enough where, like, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's not like they find out a pee test one
Yeah.
day and the next day you're suspended. That stuff takes weeks to be
Yeah,
fully
you gotta
investigated.
do blood. It's possible. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna rampantly speculate, but it's definitely possible considering, yeah, Seth Jones is like roughly the same age. He's 1 year older and has term on his contract. That was like a little bit not confusing why they did that. It makes sense. They need a number 3 defenseman. But yeah, it's definitely possible that they saw something in the pipeline and Zito was like, okay, this is a final straw for Aaron Ekblad. I'm definitely not paying him some massive bag after this dumbfoolery. Is that the word? I don't know. But that dumb of a move. You're out of here.
It is worth bringing up too, because I brought up on our trade deadline show, with their cap situation, you can't bring Brad Marchand back for the regular season anyway, unless someone else goes on LTIR.
Does he get to go
that
on
problem's
LTIR?
solved now because it's an off ice suspension. His cap hit does not count towards Florida.
Smart.
So Marchand could come back in
Yeah.
the regular season now, which if he's healthy and able to, that could be a big boost for Florida just to build some chemistry in before the playoffs.
Yeah, he was practicing looking like going 110%. It's like I think part of his injury, conspiracy wise, was like, I'm sitting out until this trade deadline. You're trading me. Like, I'm not risking further an actual injury. But yeah, I didn't consider that. You did your homework on that in terms of that. That would be a plus if Marchand comes back in 2 games. They end up winning the division, then get Aaron Ekblad back in game 3, go on another deep Stanley Cup run. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see with Aaron Ekblad what the hell happens this summer if it's the open market. You think him or Bennett, which one's more likely to leave?
I think Ekblad is more likely to just like not even get a serious offer from Florida. Bennett, I have no clue. Florida's definitely going to give a serious offer. Will it be enough, or will he want to take more money elsewhere? It's hard to say on that one. But Ekblad, I just genuinely think Florida's going to look at their team. They're going to say, our D core of Jones, Forsling, Mikkola, and then finding some other bargain bin guys to fill in the gaps is the move going forward, given how many very expensive forwards we have.
Yeah, Ekblad's gonna be 29. It's not like he's like 26 and you're gonna have some more prime years. You're paying for the back half of his career, which is the regression has already started.
It's
because of
already
injuries.
clearly like we're in the back half as of last season already. That's pretty clear.
With the injuries that he's had, like I hate wishes upon him. Like by 34, 35, it wouldn't shock me if he was like a league minimum level player. I know that might be hater energy by me. I think the thing is, like, Lundell has to eventually play an elevated role on that second line. You can justify it. He's still only 22 years old. You give Bennett some kind of deal that that maybe has like only 5 to 6 years on it, and you just front load in terms of AAV. But Yeah, I think Ekblad's probably more likely to be gone. That's what my bet would be as well, considering they have Seth Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of bad teams out there who have the cap space to say like we need a veteran defenseman in here,
Right
like
side
a
too.
San Jose, a Chicago, kind of teams where it's just like we have all of this money to spend, we're not going to find a better right side D than Ekblad, so might as well spend it on him.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's move on. Ovechkin might be retiring after next season, not this season. He has one more year on his deal. There was a quote that he heavily hinted that he might retire from the NHL after the 2026-2027 season. He said he doesn't think that he's going to sign another deal with the Washington Capitals. They're speculating that he's going to go play for Dynamo Moscow, the team that he played with during the lockout, I believe, and in his prior years. He definitely has another 2 to 3 years left in him after this, not even including this season. So that would definitely suck. I'm not like mad because obviously his legacy is set in stone, especially once he breaks the goal record. But it does kind of stink because I think that he could have got to 1,000 career goals if he did play even like 2 more seasons. No, you need 3 more seasons after this to get to 1,000. If he truly went to the wheels fell off. And as a result, I'm not saying Matthews or Draisaitl are going to break the eventual record, but it's at least like possible. You know what I'm saying? If Ovechkin retires at like 925, let's say a 30-goal season next year, somewhat possible. If scoring continues to rise, if they can stay healthy, especially Austin Matthews, it goes from like it would have been impossible 1,000 games, I think, if Ovechkin got to that. 1,000 goals if Ovechkin got to that. What do you think?
I mean, first of all, I'm really not surprised even a little bit. I kind of was always assuming like he's going to break the goal record, play out the current contract. It's going to work out really nice for him.
So good though.
No, but it's it works out nice for him that those two things are going to happen in the same season, right? There's no reason to think he won't break it pretty early next year. It's like possible he gets it this year, but I'd bet like in the early part of next year it's when he gets done with it. And then go back to Russia because he's Russian. He likes being in Russia. That's not surprising to me at all. Yeah, he does. Is this a huge blow for Washington? I don't know. I think it's a small blow. I think that so we both are in agreement that like their current President's Trophy type team is a fluke, right? They're not going to be
They're a very
at
good
that
team,
level
not great, yeah.
with or without Ovechkin in the future. But I think, take him off 2 seasons from now. This is still a pretty decent young core, right? You have Logan Thompson, obviously. Protas, McMichael, Dubois, all 26 and under have been looking good. That Chychrun and Sandin defense group there. Dylan Strome's only 27. I think that the Washington core, and then you just like buy and plug in like a decent enough left wing for Ovechkin 2 years from now, you're still looking at a playoff team. I mean, Ovechkin's not a bad player. I'm not going to try and be like hot take. He's a bad player, but like his defense is bad. They're like 17% worse defensively with him on the ice than with him off the ice. It's, he's good at what he does at this stage in his career. It's kind of always been true for him, but especially now there are some things that he just doesn't do. So like, I don't think the sky will fall in Washington if he leaves. I think they can replace him easily enough.
Definitely not. It just is a little bit of a bummer that like we thought after the 2023 season, we're like, he's about to limp to it. Like they're going to suck towards the end of it. And now that they have had this bounce back season, it's looking like they're going to be a playoff team for the next 3 to 4 years at the bare minimum. If their prospects hit, maybe for the next decade, it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth if like Washington is very good next season as well. And unless they win the Stanley Cup, he just retires when he's still 35-35 next season, and he could easily play for another 2 years. It will be a little bit underwhelming. Meanwhile, Sidney Crosby, like if he retired, it would stink, but like it's also like the Penguins freaking suck right now, so I wouldn't like hate the idea of a retirement for Ovechkin. Obviously, Crosby's not retiring; he just signed a 2-year extension. But yeah, it's a little sad that Ovechkin is going out while the team is still a highly competitive team. I mean, he's a good player.
Some guys, and I can't read Ovechkin's mind, some guys aren't like desperate for cups every year. Sometimes the attitude is like, I won mine. Do I care that much about winning a second? Not really, not super high on my list.
You tell me Crosby isn't frothing out the mouth for a fourth cup as the fifth best player on the Colorado Avalanche, like everybody assumes every second.
Yeah, I mean, some guys are frankly just like content with what they have,
Yeah.
and some guys cup chase. Mostly, those are guys who don't have
yeah.
cups. So, like, as a superstar who already has cups and has been in one place his whole career, maybe he's just genuinely like winning the KHL championship means equally as much to me as a second Stanley Cup right now. For all I know, that might be true. It might not be, but like it could be. Who can say?
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like Sidney Crosby not leaving the Penguins, it just again, Washington's still so good, and he's going to be an NHL player for a while. From that perspective, it's a little sad. It's a little sad. But Washington, as you mentioned, they're going to be a highly competitive team going forward for the foreseeable future. We're going to be sticking with a Russian. Ivan Demidov is apparently not coming over this spring. There was some rumors that maybe he would be able to join the Montreal Canadiens for their final 10 games in the potential playoffs. Right now, they're like 3 points up in the playoffs. Not happening. SKA St. Petersburg is like kind of screwing him over by saying like, oh, he's still eligible for the MHL playoffs. Like, we're not letting you have him. They're letting Alexander Nikishin come over for the Carolina Hurricanes, most likely, which is very interesting. Whether or not he'd crack the lineup, definitely something we'll talk about down the line if that does happen, if he does sign. But yeah, Demidov not coming over. I think it's a positive, big time for the Canadiens. Similarly to like how when Michkov was up for draft in the 2023 draft, I said like if he didn't come over for 3 years, that could low-key be a positive for a team, considering you'd be getting 21-year-old Michkov on an ELC and he'd be a star by then. Demidov, it'd only be 1 year that you have to wait. But compared to just burning him for the final couple regular season games, maybe they go on some type of run, but I think we agree they probably cap out at if they could pull off a Carolina upset or Capitals upset, and maybe beat Carolina, New Jersey. But this team's not going to the Stanley Cup final like in 2021 when they had Carey Price. So it's not worth it. Just sign them in the summer, right out of the rip, and get all 3 years of those ELC, and instead of just 8 games or 12 games total, including the playoffs.
I mean, this is besides the point, and I'm definitely not saying Montreal's going to make the finals, but, like, is this team actually worse than the one that made the finals a few years ago? I don't think they are.
Montembeault has had very good underlying numbers this season, but, like, Carey Price carried that team. He had, like, a 938.
He did, just like the rest. And
also
like overall squad-wise, I feel like those teams are, like, equally
I agree.
mediocre.
I agree. You could definitely argue that the forward core on this year's team is better. The blue line, Petrie and Weber were like one of the best 1-2 combos back then, but it's possible. But again, I think in that 2027-2028 season, when they have Demidov on an ELC and they're actually a contender in the NHL and they have a shit ton of salary cap flexibility the summer going into that season, as a result, instead of if we think Demidov's is good, or at least I do, I don't know your personal opinion, and you're already starting some 8-year $9.5 million extension. Instead, you have him at $950,000.
Yeah, so to actually address Demidov, first of all, again, I'll say this, I'm not surprised at all, and I think it's really weird that people are surprised. Like you said, Michkov had to wait a full season before coming over to America, and even then, it was kind of a question last summer of if they're going to let him come over. So, like, the idea that Demidov would come over and join the team like he's a college player, when has that ever happened for a Russian in their draft year? You know, it doesn't happen. It was never going to happen. I think it's, like, frankly delusional that anyone thought it might happen. I mean, Nikishin's paid his dues, right? He's played a full 3 seasons over there. That's pretty common for Russians who aren't top few picks, and Demidov, highly regarded prospect, not a top few pick, not picked in the range of like, oh, him coming over is like would be definitely happening if he was Canadian, even. Like it could, it also could not a guarantee there. I don't know if Montreal's going to make the playoffs or not. I don't think Demidov would be a huge difference maker at this point either way. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I don't have anything like specifically I don't like about his game, but he's not in the top 20 of KHL scorers this year.
You start off with barely any ice time there, playing like 10 minutes. In the back half,
controversy there,
but
he hasn't been. he's been good in the KHL. He has not been like so incredibly amazing like
Kirill
in Nikishin.
Kaprizov, yeah,
Yeah,
Kaprizov,
he's not playing at the
2019,
level
2020.
where it's like, oh, I guarantee if he came to America right now, he would be a good top 6 player. I think that's like a real question mark and not necessarily a
Yeah,
given.
yeah. I mean, I think that you could throw him in and be an effective player, but I don't hate the idea. Not saying he'd get like ruined. His confidence would be shattered if he steps in and like 8 regular season games he gets caved in just adjusting to the North American game. But I think it is good to just bring him in training camp, preseason games, and then debut him, especially because like with Canadian fans, the hype is so big that if he did sign, they'd be like, we're gonna beat the Washington Capitals, like no doubt. Like this guy's gonna walk in and be a point per game player. So like the fact that the hype's gonna be there in October, but like compared to April hype in Montreal, if he didn't absolutely deliver right out of the gate, for a 19-year-old, that's a lot of expectations to have versus next year. Montreal's going to have a lot of expectations next year, especially if they make the playoffs, but he can ease into the NHL.
I think that's setting expectations, and I know Montreal fans tend to do this. I think that's setting expectations unrealistically. I mean, Mitch Cove has 47 points in 67 games, and that's with a lot of very high-profile defensive not being amazing or always present. I think that's like the high end of what you would expect from Demidov. I understand Montreal is a much better team
depends
around
if they put
him.
Yeah, it depends if they put him on like a top
And Mitch
line,
Cove doesn't have any like great center to help him out.
nothing.
I get that much, but like, you know, if you get like a 60-point season in his rookie year, you should be thinking like, wow, absolute win. He's going to be a great player. If you're going to be disappointed if he has a 60-point rookie season, you need to stay in check.
I think if you ask Canadians
fans, Canadians fans, and not to you, Mike, but keep it in check, guys.
I think I'd put the over under at like 59 point.
That feels like
50,
a fair-ish number. 58 and a half.
58
right?
and a half. Yeah, I think if he's healthy, obviously we're assuming 82 games. I think he should be a very effective offensive second liner and probably should be factoring in on the top power play for Montreal. Canadians fans are probably expecting like high 60s now or something ridiculous like that.
I mean, there's no person on earth, right, who would look at Demidov coming into last year's draft and saying this is as good of a prospect as Michkov was in the draft 2 years ago. Everyone was saying Michkov's like a top 2 prospect, and the only thing holding him down are the Russia-related issues. Everyone was saying that. Whether it's true now or not.
Michkov was a better prospect. I wouldn't say that he was like tears above. The difference was just Michkov played in the KHL versus Demidov in the MHL, and the 2023 draft was a lot more loaded than 2024 and had more hype. But no, Demidov was a high, still ridiculous that he fell to 5th overall, but he was a highly regarded prospect, and he's expected to be a franchise level guy. I'm not gonna lie, for the Montreal Canadiens. I know you might think that's ridiculous.
It's tough,
maybe
right?
not franchise as a winger.
You say he's going to be a good second liner, and
in his first season,
franchise guy.
at 19 years old. Yeah, if you score 60 points at 19 years old and you're a top 5 pick, that in my opinion was the consensus second best prospect in his draft. Maybe franchise is a little bit too far. Star. He should be a star level guy. He should be not Artemi Panarin in 2019, 2020, or last year, but like 2021 to 2023 Panarin. 100-ish points, great playmaker, can get you 35-ish goals.
If his career ends up being Cole Caulfield with more assists, are you like happy with calling that a franchise guy?
Cole Caulfield with more assists would be like probably 40 goals, 50 assists. So
like good player. I don't know about franchise.
Yeah.
Tough to say.
Yeah, franchise is tough. Franchise like top 10 in the entire league. I'm saying, yeah, probably. He might have some seasons that are top 10, but yeah, I'd say probably 11 through 20 is maybe a little bit more likely. We really dove into that. We did. Demidov debate. Canadians fans are going to love that. Okay, now we are moving on to, as the board says there, who wins the cup? We're going to be giving our updated cup finalists and Stanley Cup champions. We're going to start with the cup finalists. We're going to do a 3, 2, 1. Say
so the
who
cup loser, to be clear.
Yes, cup loser. Finalist. You don't call a cup champion cup finalist. But yeah, all right. 3, 2, 1.
Carolina.
Carolina. I'll let you go first.
Let me add it. Carolina is 4-0 in the Stankoven era with wins over Tampa and Winnipeg. Do I think Carolina is the best team on the East? Like in theory, vibe-wise, on paper, assuming health. I don't really believe that, but I look at the Atlantic and I look at that top 3, and any
That's fair.
combination of those three teams, their playoff path is beat the other two in the first two rounds. That's how that's going to work out. Carolina's path seems comparatively pretty easy. The Devils are doing, fine enough. I never once engaged with the discourse that they might fall out of a playoff spot. It won't happen. Now we can all agree, right? It definitely won't happen.
Take your win.
But they do look like very beatable. There's no
Definitely.
Jack Hughes. There's no Dougie Hamilton. He's not coming back at all. Siegenthaler's out forever. Their deadline replacements for those guys were really like half-hearted and uninspired, almost like the team themselves.
Cody Glass got 5 points in 5 games. Don't
It's working okay, but like they've been hot for the last week. But I think even the team themselves is not really expecting this to be their year. They're expecting
They just wanna
to
make the
sell
playoffs
some
after.
playoff tickets this
Yeah.
year and then go in next year. We've discussed Washington quite a bit. It's a very good team. It's a nice team. I don't think either of us believe that like this year for Washington, this is going to be their year. I mean, it could be if Logan Thompson is going to be a 930 goalie throughout the playoffs, which is possible. But
Carolina.
Carolina's goalie situation is not great. But, it's their forward core right now is really good. Frankly, it's very good. It's just as good as the defense at this point. You can keep doing
The
the
second line center's Kakadiemi.
It's a good, well-structured team.
The wingers are pretty good.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit, right? This is more about like pragmatic, what are your
percentages.
matchups going to be, than it is about like, if I assume everyone on Florida gets healthy, who would win a 7-game series between Florida and Carolina?
That's fair.
That's tough, but like, Florida has probably a 50% chance of not even making the Eastern Conference Finals because of the gauntlet they'll have to go through.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at like right now, who has the best chance to advance out of the first round, it's Carolina. Like I'd be like, I guess whoever plays the final wild card team in the Western Conference. But outside of that non-wild card, it's definitely the easiest matchup is Carolina. I just can't do it again. I made a video being like, oh, Carolina set up for a great offs. I was like, Carolina definitely hurt their cup chances by trading Rantanen. But next season, with all the money they have, they're going to be real contenders. People tried to legitimately tell me that like they have a better chance now with Logan Stankoven than Mikko Rantanen. I love Logan Stankoven. He was on the former podcast. Great interview, great guy. But like, you're delusional. I get Logan Stankoven, not you. I'm saying you're delusional if you think that you might be a little bit delusional. But if you think that Stankoven is genuinely like trading away Rantanen for Stankoven right now, I get the picks and all that, actively improves their odds. Yes, maybe
He's a better
fit-wise,
fit.
but the talent is so different. And when looking at it, the Rod Brindamore system, we've seen it the last couple years. There comes a point in the playoffs where they just can't score. It happened with the New York Rangers. And yes, they played Igor Shesterkin, but Logan Thompson's been great this year. Even Markstrom is better than Kochetkov, in my opinion. And whoever comes out of the the Atlantic is going to have better goaltending. Like, we see it every year. Yes, they suffocate teams, but at the end of the day, they can't score goals when it matters most. And I think with Jesperi Kotkaniemi as your 2C, with Svechnikov's having his worst season like since his rookie year, which he has kind of plateaued, but now he's going downhill. I just don't think that they have the offensive firepower. I like the decor. Goaltending's fine. If Anderson's healthy, maybe that moves me a little bit. But yeah, I'm not going to be tricked by their analytics. They're good and their analytics aren't even as good as prior seasons because they just, in my opinion, don't have the forward core, don't have the goal scoring more typically. They have very solid two-way forwards, but it always seems to be the case that they just run into a team that they can't score on, get goal lead, and I think that's going to happen yet again. But I agree that like my pick, I went with Colorado. They definitely have a worse chance to make it out of the first round. But yeah, with Colorado, they sealed up basically every hole that they had this season, throughout the season. Chris McFarland was active, gave up a shit ton. If they don't go on a deep run this season, like I'm predicting, massive failure considering some of the guys are rentals. But when looking at it, Blackwood, he's had like a 9-17 since he's got traded.
He's been great there.
Brock Nelson, I'm not sure he's killing it right now, but we can agree he's a playoff level second line center for a legit team.
Yep.
Coyle, I don't love the middle stat trade because they gave up a second round pick, and Will Zellers, who I like a lot in the USHL. Coyle's a better fit. and not a fit Rantanen to Stankoven, like just a better fit than Middlestat, who's not very good. Lindgren has been better. I still don't think that he's like, people are in my mention saying Lindgren's been amazing. I don't think he's been amazing, but
he's going to win the
Norris. Yes, he's as valuable as Makar. Yeah, got more defenseman depth. Natchez has been as good as Rantanen since he got
That's
traded.
true. That's true.
I obviously think Rantanen is better, but like you could argue that Natchez is a better fit. Not a better fit. I don't know what I'm saying, but like it's not a massive downgrade. Drury's been okay depth. They actually have depth, and when looking at the stats since the Rantanen trade, they're 13-5-1. Their power play's clicking at 33%. They're third in goals for. They might play Dallas without Miro Heiskanen. That came out this most recent week. That DeBoer's like, we might have to prepare for a world where we don't have Miro Heiskanen, which like if you look at that freaking D-core without Miro Heiskanen, yikes, barbecue chicken there. As long as our boy Valerie Nichushkin can stay out, it's not a funny matter, can stay out of NHL players' assistance programs or, just can stay sober and healthy, they're going to be an absolute wagon. And Blackwood just got to be solid. I don't need dominance from Blackwood. Not saying you can play as bad as like Darcy Kemper did on their cup run. That team was just next level. But yeah, I just really like this team at this point.
I wasn't really going to bring it up, but I do. We do need to delicately address the elephant in the room of, Nichushkin twice has managed to get himself kicked out of the league during the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's like a real risk, And
if
it happens once, it's unfortunate. If it happens twice, it's like, there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
Can we be like 100% certain that it wouldn't happen a third time? Who can say, right? He's clearly
definitely the wild
dealing
card.
with some stuff there.
He's the wild card, and yeah, it was like people said that was the last straw when he did it last time. The dude makes $6.1 million and is like an elite two-way first liner. He's gonna get probably another chance if he somehow relapsed yet again. So yeah, he's got to stay healthy, but beyond that, man, you got two of the top five, the second best player in the NHL and the best defenseman or the 1B best defenseman in the NHL. They finally have depth for the first time since 2022. So I'm buying stock, but I agree. They could easily lose in the first round if Dallas is 100% healthy. And then they got to play Winnipeg and they got to play both of those teams on the road. I'm not playing the numbers game. I'm just saying who I would pick in each matchup right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I see the logic in that there. I do have the same questions of like, oh, that division is going to be such a gauntlet, but I see your logic there.
Aye, Cup champion. 3, 2, 1.
Edmonton.
Tampa Bay. You go first on that.
I will. Yeah, I see what's happening again here. We're doing the same thing again. You're looking at, who's the best team. I'm looking at what does the playoff path look like. And the Oilers maybe are going to get the division over Vegas, in which case they'd play Minnesota, and Minnesota's really struggling right now. I'd feel fine about that matchup. Mm-hmm. More likely than not, they're getting the LA Kings, which I think I speak for all of us.
I think
no one wants to see that again. No one needs Edmonton versus LA round 4. No one needs to see that 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
But, I see that playoff path, and it seems much easier than the Central teams, what they have going on there.
Fair.
I would expect that if the matchup is Oilers-LA, the Oilers will walk over LA easily at that point. I mean, the Kings have not been as good as I feel like they should be.
They've been analytically dominant.
They have been. And then their actual wins do not seem to be as good as they should be, right? Like, they're equally close to Vancouver as they are to Edmonton. Mm-hmm. The wins just aren't quite coming there. Do the Oilers have roster problems? Yes, absolutely, for sure. I cannot trust any of that goaltending even a little bit, but their defense is a lot better than people give them credit for. In this stereotype of a Carolina versus Edmonton hypothetical finals is, oh, they're polar opposites because one team's all offense and the other's all defense. Edmonton is 12th in the league in goals against this year. 12th best defense in the league. That's with a really bad goalie situation. So their D group is better than 12th in the league. That's a top 10 D group you have there, logically, if you're putting together that number.
Too,
yeah, they, stretch passing, moving up. But, Ekholm is really good in his own zone. Like, he's a fundamental game changer for how good they're going to be. I believe they're getting Evander Kane back for the playoffs, right? It's a factor. It could be plus. I mean, is he the most amazing player? No, but I know he can, chip in goals with good center play. Yes, it's true that the entire supporting cast has taken a step back, and I'd feel more confident if Nugent Hopkins took a step forward. Um, I mean, it's such a tough. This year feels really open, right? I was running through the Western Conference doing this, and I'm like, I see 5 teams that I'd give like at least a 15% chance to, and none that I would give more than a 25% chance to.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to whether or not those guys can provide some secondary scoring. We know McDavid and Draisaitl, you can pencil them in for probably 1.5 points per game. It's going to come down to Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and just Skinner. Skinner not even playing that good, just consistent.
Just like
A
surviving.
9-0, give us a 903 every single game, and we can go on a Stanley Cup run. Which like he played great he played horrible the first 4 games of the series last year, then like locked the hell in the elimination games. But he just needs to be consistent. I just can't get behind. I think I probably would have Edmonton in the Western Conference Finals right now against Colorado. I just think Colorado's far deeper. That's why I'd go with Edmonton or Colorado.
Colorado's deeper. I mean, that's true. I can't argue that one.
Yeah.
Tampa, though, that gauntlet.
I know. Well, first off, I just wanted to mention that Colorado, as you mentioned, defensive stats, second in the NHL in expected goals against per 60 and second in high danger chances against. So they've actually been pretty locked down defensively. LA is first in both of those stats, funny enough. But yeah, Tampa Bay. They're going to have a gauntlet of a schedule. Yeah, of course. I think that they're in a pretty decent spot to end up winning the division. The Leafs have kind of been sputtering a little bit, as well as Florida that we just mentioned, missing 2 of their pretty important players, as well as a depth defenseman. Tampa, when looking at them before the deadline, I had them coming out of the East. But after they addressed such a pressing need, they were the one team where like, just one thing that you need to acquire. You don't have it. They could have obviously loved to get like a second pair defenseman, but clearly the second line right wing and just another third liner was so needed. And you get a guy like Yanni Gourde that is acclimated to the system, has won Stanley Cups there. Bjorkstrand isn't killing it right now. I think he has like 1 point in 5 games, but I think we can agree he's going to become playoff time.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. They check every box when it comes to a cup winner. They got experience. They got 2 superstar forwards, 2 other like star level forwards in Hagel and Gensel. Forward depth now, number 1 defenseman, and more importantly, in my opinion, the number 2 defenseman that's very good defensively that can play 22 to 24 minutes. Compared to last year, you had just like Sergachev, who's coming off a broken leg. They were cooked against Florida, that team. Best playoff goalie of the last 6 seasons in Andrei Vasilevsky. Their special teams, 5th in the power play, 5th in the penalty kill. That's like them in New Jersey are by far the 2 best special teams. An experienced coach and a great coach. And yeah, that's why I think it's like they check every box. They have a lot to prove, honestly, even though they've won 2 Stanley Cups and made a different one. They've lost back-to-back first-round series against Toronto and Florida. So like they have a decent amount to prove right now. So yeah, I think they're going to go on a deep run and potentially solidify the dynasty, the dynastic status.
Those are a bunch of compelling arguments, but I'm just, poking the bear here. You look at Toronto, who beat them last year.
No, Florida beat them.
Florida beat them last year. Toronto, probably a better team this year than last year. It feels like they're getting better goaltending at least.
But they're getting better goaltending because they have such a good tandem. Come playoff time, Wool or Stolarz versus Andrei Vasilevsky. And Vasilevsky's been amazing this year. It's not even just the playoff numbers. He's back to being Vezina finalist level.
No, I mean, I agree Vasilevsky's better. I just, it's if they win the division, great. Just looking at currently
I agree. I'm definitely
points in front of me, that potential first-round matchup with Toronto, it feels like a real 50-50 toss-up.
This could definitely flip. Like if Florida gets healthy and they're the 1 seed, probably he'll pick Florida potentially win the Stanley Cup. That'd be such a square pick. But
do you think Ottawa is good enough to push anyone who gets Atlantic
that
Division?
Is concerning as well. That's you like shout out Washington for winning the Eastern Conference title, potentially the President's Trophy, because there is such a difference. Although we think Montreal could be a little bit scrappy, much rather play, and I know that they beat them last night, much rather play Montreal than like in Ottawa come playoff time, just because Ottawa's so goddamn physical and Olmark is pretty experienced. Yeah, I think the Tampa would take care of them, but it would be a gauntlet. It would be one of the more impressive first 2 rounds from a team of like recent memory.
Yeah, it would
if
be a
they
really
beat.
impressive path, right? It would be hard to say they don't deserve it if they can make it through potentially Toronto round 1, Florida round 2, either of Washington or Carolina round 3. Like that's a brutal
Yeah,
schedule.
and also like yeah, speaking of like having things to prove, like although they don't give a shit about like the LTIR accusations in 2020 and 2021, that is another little chip on the shoulder. People discredit the cups that you did win. If they win this year, everybody can just shut the hell up. This would be pure domination.
Everyone should shut the hell up anyway. I mean, frankly, I feel like no one cares about LTIR unless Vegas does it, and then all of a sudden it's the most scandalous thing in the world.
Well, now it's not LTIR. Now it's the state income tax is the ultimate disadvantage. That's why Florida sucked
Yeah, exactly,
for
right.
20
You
years.
can keep moving the goalposts
Yeah.
on that one. Oh, well, Tampa still has no income tax,
Yeah.
so it's none of that stuff really matters. Get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
They won those cups and then made the final. They made 3 finals in a row because they were the best team over that 3
Because
year
they drafted
stretch.
Kucherov 58th overall, Braden Point 76th, Andre Vasilevsky 19th. Like they never mentioned that. They never mentioned that they built most of their core through the draft.
Yeah, it's respectable. I mean, it's, good GMing, good coaching, really long term. I mean, Cooper is great at his job in a way that, do I trust Brindamore come playoff time? That's tough to say given his track record. Do I trust Edmonton's coaching? If it was up to me, Woodcroft would still be coaching there. So I don't know. Jeez.
Yeah. I'm gonna bet on John Cooper and Andre Vasilevsky. That's really what it comes down to. And Hedman I've criticized him so much the prior two
He's been
seasons
great
because
this year.
he was shit defensively. He's been awesome in part because now they got Ryan McDonough back there instead of like Sergachev, 2 offensive defensemen, where Hedman got far tougher matchups as a result. But yeah. Some outside the box picks by us, not in the box.
It's such an
We're
open
looking at
season.
Dallas,
I feel like
but
there's-
Dallas and Florida are like the two. I feel like if you polled most people, my poll that I did on Google Forms, 28% of people had Dallas winning the Stanley Cup. The next closest was like 15.
That's a lot. I mean, it's to me this year is just so spread out, so much parity. I mean, I see like 5 teams out of the West and 3 to 4 teams out of the East that I think like, they could really make the run and win it all, and I wouldn't be like shocked. That's a lot more than most years. I feel like most years that top tier contenders, we're talking 3 teams, 4 teams, not like 9 teams.
Yeah, and it's tough because like the best divisions, yeah, it's gonna be war. Like I think you could make the argument that the 6 best teams are in the Atlantic and Central.
Yeah, I'm definitely that. I mean, I factor that into my
Edmonton,
predictions.
yeah,
How there's a huge division imbalance.
Edmonton, like if they're playing at their level that we know that we're capable of, they're within that top 6. But Vegas, I'm not really that bullish on. Washington, I think, is 7th or 8th within that, and Carolina as well. But yeah, I could easily like I'm gonna probably stick with these teams barring like injuries or like teams them shitting their pants at the end, and it would not shock me one bit if both of those teams are out in the first round and I look like an absolute idiot. I could play it safe. I could pick like Washington or Carolina, kind of like you did, but guarantee get at least a first, get at least get out of the first round. But
quick question on here because 2 weeks ago I had St. Louis for the 8 seed in the West. I feel good doubling down on that. Are you still feeling okay with Utah?
No, I'm not feeling good about Utah. They got dogged against Edmonton last night. Vancouver is honestly playing pretty decent. I think they might have it, but I still think that Utah has a chance. It's going to be a battle. We talked about that last week. We'll probably talk about it next week.
It's like the most
10
boring, irrelevant battle, but it will be a battle.
Yeah.
It will be a battle.
Okay, we are now going to finish off this episode with a Jesper Bratt Would You Rather. He's killing it this season. 80 points in 69 games after 83 points last year, which was a career high. Crazy stat from Dmitry Filipovich. The Devils have scored 20 goals since Jack Hughes got hurt 7 games ago. Jesper Bratt has 12 points on them. He's balling out. He's playing insane. So we're going to name a player and say, would we rather have Jesper Bratt or this guy? Up first, Alexander Ovechkin. 3, 2, 1, Bratt.
It's easy. I mean, I brought it up earlier. Ovechkin's great at what he does.
Elite
You look
goal
at what
scorer.
he doesn't do defensively. He doesn't do a lot. There are definitely plays and shifts where Ovechkin being on the ice makes the Capitals worse. That happens sometimes. He's great at scoring goals. He's a better goal scorer than Bratt. He's not a better player though.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument depending on what other forwards you have on your team. If you already have a playmaking center, you could argue for Ovechkin. But if I was starting a team from scratch, I think just what Bratt brings to the table in terms of playmaking, passing, and just in transition, he's one of the best skaters in the entire NHL. I think you got to go Bratt. No disrespect to Ovechkin, legend in his own right. But right now, Jesper Bratt is just like on a genuine top 20, top 15 level in the NHL. Next up, we got William Nylander. 3, 2, 1. Nylander. I'll go first on this one. Yeah, he's goal scoring at an insane clip. 38 goals, 71 points. I think him and Bratt have a lot of similar traits in terms of just being so skilled and so fast. Nylander's just a better goal scorer. I think Bratt's definitely a little bit, maybe a better playmaker and passer. But what Nylander has brought to the table from a goal scoring perspective, 40 goals last year, might get to like 45 this season, on top of already having that one season of 98 points last year. You can argue that the first like 2 to 3 months, that was a contract year. But yeah, he's been more established in this season. The goal scoring has really just somehow taken yet another step when he scored 40 last year.
Yeah, I mean, Nylander is fantastic. This is not a diss on him by any means. Great goal scoring year. It's just my one thing with Nylander is he has literally always been stapled to a very good center.
John Tavares,
he's inconsistently good, but this year in particular, to coincide with Nylander's goal scoring breakout, Tavares has been noticeably better than he was last year. Bratt is playing the best hockey of his life while Jack Hughes is out injured. That does mean something to me. It's, this guy on the wing can be a line driving playmaker.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Nylander's definitely levels above Tavares. I think you're cutting him. Although, yeah, again, Brad's playing great right now without Jack Hughes. He does get to play with Jack Hughes a decent amount. Yeah, just Nylander's shot is arguably like a top 5 shot in the entire NHL. I know that might be a little bit controversial. It's definitely top 10 most likely. So I'm going to go with Nylander. And he's still a very good passer. It's not like he's deficient in that area. Versus Bratt, he has a career high of like 27 goals. And he's not going to top that this season, it's looking like.
No, Bratt's just not a shoot first guy. I think that Nylander could drive his own line if given the opportunity to.
I think he does.
But
I think he does.
I don't know. He's
98 points last year, 40 goals. I like the power play is definitely favored towards Toronto. Maybe that's part of the production. But when watching William Nylander, I think that he's a little bit more of a complete offensive player. And it's not like either of these guys are like Selke level. So I think the defense is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, question. Do you think Nylander is a power play driving guy? Because you just brought it up earlier on the show, the Devils, right? One of the best special teams in the league. Bratt is absolutely the driver on that. It's not Nico Hischier driving that power play. I can tell you that
fair
much.
With the zone entries. That's a good point. I'm still sticking with Nylander again just because of the shot on that one. Next up, we got Jake Gensel. 3, 2, 1, Bratt. Glazer over here. Yeah, Gensel, very good player. Elite player. You can pencil him in, like literally look at his hockey reference. Basically every single season, it's fluctuates between 38 to 42 goals and assists. Top 30 to 35 player. You know what you're getting within him. But in terms of the playmaking, Bratt's just on another level. And definitely can drive his line, in my opinion, more than a Gensel. Not saying Gensel can't, but Bratt is just more dynamic.
It's the same argument I made on the last one, except this time I know you agree with it, right? Gensel's a great player. He probably could drive his own line if presented with that opportunity. Literally never in his career has he had to prove that he could, though. He has spent his entire career stapled to elite centers.
Yeah, and I just think in transition, Bratt clears by a decent amount.
He is. Bratt's a better skater. Not that Gensel's a bad skater, but, Bratt zone entries. He's quicker. He's agile, right? Can dance around defense. Yeah. Gensel, to me, feels like more of set play, set spot, net front or from the dot, but got to be set somewhere.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And then we're gonna finish it off with Mark Stone. 3, 2, 1, Stone. Okay, I know you love Stone. Yeah, I feel like this one might be the most controversial because some people still are very underrating. Some people are still underrate the shit out of Mark Stone. He is still a point per game, above a point per game this season, 17 goals, 41 assists, 58 points in 53 games, while being Selke level defensively. Offensively, I'm definitely taking Bratt, but Stone at like 6'2", 6'3", physical menace. We see it every year in the playoffs, especially in that 2023 Cup run. Few wingers that I would rather have come a playoff series when healthy. I know, like, if you're starting a team tomorrow, you might pick Bratt just because of Stone's injuries, but when they're healthy, come playoff time, when it matters the most, I'm taking Mark Stone every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said Mark Stone's like the hockey Kawhi Leonard to me. Like, this guy is genuinely an elite two-way player, arguably top 10 forward player when healthy, which he so rarely is. But we've seen it this year when he's been mostly healthy. You know, and it's not new that he's a point per game player. He's basically ever since, you know, the 2 years before Ottawa traded him, since back then, he has been a point per game player for however many games he's played. Most regular seasons, that's not a lot, but he's pretty much always up there. He's much slower than Jesper Bratt, but he is same stylistically, where it's like he's really not a huge goal scorer. He's much more of a playmaker. He can score goals. He scores goals a little bit more than Bratt, but historically, he's usually been more of a pass first, setting up guy. And the defensive impact is huge, right? If Mark Stone's hockey reference page had the letter C instead of the letter RW, he would have like 3 Selkies by now.
Probably.
I don't think there's any way to debate that, right? They're inherently biased against wings, but Stone's defensive impact is like historically unprecedented for a wing.
Yeah, I think he hasn't won one, but he was a runner-up one season, right?
Yes, he's never won somehow because no wing will ever win that award in this league, but he's been a finalist a couple times.
Yeah, it's just two-way dominance for Mark Stone, and I feel like he gets underrated every time. Like, I had him as my 24th best player, and like, he should be 44th. It's ridiculous, especially now that he has a Stanley Cup. I really don't get any of the disrespect for Mark Stone. And Bratt's also a little bit underrated too, very underrated by some. But Stone, yeah, just what he brings to the table from a defensive perspective. Go in Mark Stone.
Literally, the only reason people don't like Mark Stone and would rate him
LTIR,
lower
yeah.
is the whole LTIR thing, right? He is kind of, because a lot of people, a lot of teams in the league do it. A lot of different players have been in that position. Mark Stone managing to do it like 3 times in 4 years has kind of become the face of cheating the salary cap. And
Yeah.
I think because of that, people are like, oh, well, he's really not even that good. And the reason why he's not that good is because I've already decided I don't like him because he's cheating the salary cap.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a Vegas tax on how much people kind of underrate them, unless you're maybe Jack Eichel. And speaking of Jack Eichel, he's not a Jack Eichel merchant at all. When he's not playing with Jack Eichel, he's still highly productive. And yeah, they're definitely a 1A, 1B, similarly to Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt.
No, I mean, he was playing equally good hockey when Chandler Stevenson was his full-time center. We've seen how Stevenson's looked without Mark Stone around him.
Yeah.
We've seen that
And
for sure.
even in Ottawa, when like Kyle Turris was his number 1 center, he was putting up point per game.
He's been great for a while. Like, you know, when Max Pacioretty was the other guy on his line, he was putting up equally great numbers. He's great with a bunch of different groups of teammates, most of which are lesser players than him. Eichel might be the first time that's not true, that Stone is the best forward on his team.
In the first fully healthy season.
Great player, though.
Yeah, Not to disrespect Bratt with that rant. We're just defending. We're big Mark Stone defenders. But yeah, that's the podcast. Let us know about what do you think about the news topics we talked about. Who's your current Stanley Cup finalist and champion, and who would you have taken over Bratt, or would you have taken Bratt in those guys? And also maybe drop some below and we'll respond to it.
Should we do more 15-minute rants about Montreal prospects?
Yeah,
Was that fun for you guys?
Yeah, all right. We'll be seeing the next one. Peace.